This was the best WWE pay-per-view in the pandemic era, by far. And I'm going to talk about it. With deep love in my heart on this Valentine's Day, this is your NXT Vengeance Day recap and review. First off, we have the finals of the Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. We got the team of Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon versus Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. Pretty nicely paced match. We see the beginning. Raquel is just a force. Nothing Shotzi or Ember is really doing is impacting her or damaging her in any way until she eventually tags Kai into the match, which is the wrong move because she ends up getting destroyed. She's getting damaged to that leg, left in a heel hook for a mad long time, like a minute and a half that she was just trapped in that heel hook and they were damaging her leg. She couldn't really do anything. She eventually escapes, gets Gonzalez back into the match, and she eventually gets some clotheslines and some fallaway slams to kind of take back control for their team. Shotzi Blackheart is eventually taken out on the outside with a powerbomb onto the barricade by Gonzalez, and that takes her out for the time being. That leaves Ember in the ring to kind of fend for herself, but she does a good job at fighting both Raquel and Dakota Kai off. Eventually even gets Raquel to DDT Kai in the ring as well. She does hit the Eclipse out of nowhere, but while she's trying to make the cover, the referee is distracted trying to get Kai out the ring. He had some really weird moments in this match. He needs to do his job better. But yeah, Raquel eventually kicks out at 2, and Ember is furious as she should be because the ref is being terrible. But she continues to fight them off. Shotzi eventually comes back and they get some nice double team moves to kind of take back control. They eventually even take out Kai multiple times on the outside with a nice little suicide dive between the legs and the ropes, and also a nice elevated splash on the outside. She was on the shoulders and Blackheart came off the top rope to eventually take her out. Pretty nice stuff in terms of those moves, of course. Coming into the end of this match, we do see as Raquel and Ember are kind of fighting on the entrance ramp, Gonzalez pretty much just throws her into the barricade. She is done on the outside. She's not coming back. She all the way near the stage. It ain't happening. Shotzi does eventually try to fight both of them off, but it is all for naught. The numbers game pretty much just catches up with her. Raquel just throws Kai onto Shotzi in the ring for an assisted splash, and she eventually hits that choke slam. Both of them cover Blackheart for the 1, 2, 3, and your winners, the first Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic winners. They celebrate on the ramp. There's all like confetti and everything, and they look genuinely happy, and I'm definitely happy for them that they got this opportunity. But this was an awesome match. All 4 women left it in the ring. Best match of the tournament. I know I said that about the last match, but yeah, it's the one. There ain't no question. But yeah, all 4 women, they left it out there. I definitely loved Shotzi and Ember's just chemistry throughout the tournament and even in this match as well. But with Kai and Gonzalez as the one true and actual team in the tournament, it definitely makes sense for them to win, of course. They will eventually go on to face Shayna and Nia for those tag team titles, and it's got me thinking, please just bring the women's tag team titles to NXT. Like, come on now. There's no reason to keep them up on the main roster. They ain't doing nothing. Let Kai and Gonzalez win those titles and bring them down to NXT. Please. But outside of that, this is an awesome match. Kai is a force, and so is Gonzalez, and they eventually they left it all out there tonight. Definitely good by all 4 women involved. Next up, we have the match for the North American Championship. We got Johnny Gargano, the champion, versus Kushida. Really technical start to this. Kushida is just taking control, just as they're grappling on the mat, just taking control of the arms and the legs. Eventually, he does get both the hoverboard lock and the Gargano escape on a couple of times, just in this nice little opening of the match. He's just destroying that arm all the way. Like, he is just killing it on the inside, on the outside as well. That's until Gargano eventually gets a neck breaker through the middle rope to kind of take control going into the latter part of the match. We eventually see Gargano actually kick out the arm from under Kushida, a la what Kushida has been doing to him for the past like 6 months. So it was good to see Gargano get a little payback there and effectively turn around against him. But yeah, the pace really picked up in the second half of this match. We just see like pinfall counters, clothesline counters as they both like going for clotheslines at the same time, eventually taking each other out. And we do see Kushida eventually kind of take control back a little bit. We see him hit a German suplex and a kick to the head combo for a 2 count. He actually tries to go for a superplex off the top rope as well, but Gargano won't have none of that. He eventually just turns it into what looked like a final cut a la Goldust. I see you, Goldust. Turns it into a final cut from the top rope and hits a nice little tornado DDT for a 2 count as well. There were many times in this last little segment of the match where I thought Gargano was about to tap out and lose. Kushida had the armbar and the hoverboard lock on him multiple times during this last little part of the match, but Gargano got out every single time. They eventually end up on the outside, and he drives Kushida into the barricade to kind of break the hold as well. They eventually end up on the entrance ramp where Kushida, like a sprinter, he started all the way up from the top of the entrance ramp, ran all the way down, and kicked out that arm again. Really nice stuff. He eventually gets the hoverboard lock on in the ring to effectively end this thing, but Gargano would not let it happen. He eventually breaks it by whipping Kushida into the middle rope, just like taking out that whole neck area. It was ugly. But this is the end of the match. We do see Johnny Gargano hit the one final beat on the entrance ramp on the outside, and then adds another one in the ring for good measure. A 1-2-3, Johnny Gargano retains the North American Championship. I simplified this one probably a little bit. Go watch this match, because this was the best match of the night in my opinion personally. Everything they did just had a purpose. Kushida looked amazing in defeat. I really wondered how they were going to have him lose and make him still look like he came out looking really good, and I thought that was going to be from like interference from the way or something like that. That didn't happen. Like, Gargano won clean. Definitely everything that they did in this match was perfecto. I loved it. Definitely the best match of the night for me. Makes Kushida look good. Johnny Gargano, he needs the championship. If he's going to be in NXT, he needs something to do. So keep the championship on him for now until someone who you cannot deny takes the title off of him, of course. But this was amazing stuff from these two. Absolutely. Next up, we have the finals of the men's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. We got MSK versus the grizzled young veterans. We see GYV just looking good at the beginning of this match. They're taking over Carter with just some effective grappling work and stuff like that. But MSK, they definitely moved the pace in their advantage just with some high-flying moves, some tag team moves to kind of take over. We do eventually see Carter. He just dives to the outside. He hits Drake, but misses Gibson all the way. He moves to the side and comes in with the clothesline on the outside to kind of take control going into the later part of the match. And Carter is just in a bad way in that corner, just getting worked over. But he eventually does escape. He hits kind of a Matrix-like move to avoid a move. He went kind of like that. And he goes and gets the tag into Lee, and he comes in flying every single time with that hot tag. He comes in flying, eventually hits some quick moves, hits a tope over the post to take out GYV on the outside as well. Him and Nash kind of have control. We do see Carter back in the ring. He hits a nice little springboard cutter onto Gibson as well, only for a 2 count. And then we eventually see later on, as GYV are going for that ticket to Mayhem, MSK do reverse it. They end up on the top rope. They hit a nice little senton spiral. Oh, I love a good spiral tap. Senton spiral tap combo onto James Drake, only for a 2 count as well. We come back and we see a ugly move on the outside by the GYV. They take out Wesley with the suicide dive. Doomsday device. Like, that joint was disgusting, and that takes out him, and it eventually leaves Carter in the ring to kind of fend for himself. He does kind of fight back for a little bit. It kind of gives time for Lee to recover on the outside as GYV are going for a ticket to Mayhem again. Lee interrupts and interjects in the whole thing. Double super kicks to both men, and that allows MSK to go ahead and hit that heart attack blockbuster with a nice little springboard action from Wesley as well. Hit that blockbuster 1, 2, 3, and you can see the emotion on both of those men's face as they became the next Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic winners. And they were just, oh my gosh, it was really emotional. This journey that they've been on has definitely been one that we haven't seen them kind of emotionally handle for NXT just in a bit. So it was definitely good to see them get that win, of course. I definitely thought GYV, as they were in it for the 2nd year in a row, probably should have won. But if you are giving MSK the Rocket, let them go. Like, let them beat Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, all right? Let them take the tag team titles. We definitely need rises like that, and wrestlers just coming in, like, taking over pretty much. That's what these guys are. They're young, they're fresh, they're talented. Give them the ball and let them just run with it then, if y'all are going to have them win the whole thing, of course. But this is exciting stuff. This was the best match of the tournament. I know I've said that before, but this was the one. This was the one. Definitely the best match that I've seen either team in, even with the rascal stuff in like Impact. Like, this was better than everything that they did in Impact Wrestling. Good from these 4 men. I'm looking forward to what MSK continues to do in the future. Definitely kind of miffed on where GYV kind of go from here and whether they'll stick around for the most part and eventually get some sort of tag team title shot, but I'm not worried about right now. Like, MSK definitely came to play for this tournament, and just them debuting in NXT the way that they have and having it result in this, awesome stuff by all 4 men involved. Next up, we do have the triple threat match for the NXT Women's Championship. We got the champion Io Shirai versus Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez. The intros, they don't happen as Mercedes eventually takes Io out and sends her back into the outside of the ring to kind of kick things off. All three women do really have a stint at the top near the first couple minutes of this match. That's until Mercedes just throws Io over the barricade to get rid of her for the time being as she works on Toni in the ring. We eventually do see a nice little spot at the beginning of this match. Io has a crossface on Toni Storm trying to get her tap in. Mercedes comes out of nowhere just with a dragon sleeper, and so it's all three submissions on one. It was kind of nice stuff, and Mercedes eventually hits a dragon sleeper suplex as well, only for a 2 count as well. Later on, we do see Storm on the outside just trying to do a Storm Zero through the table. The table implodes, so she doesn't get any chance to do that at all. But we do see her still try to go for the Storm Zero on Martinez. That allows Io to go all the way to the top of the scaffold and just hit a crossbody off there onto both women. We get a nice, this is awesome. This is awesome. While that's happening, Mercedes, as she's recovering, just takes out Io on the outside to just keep her there, you know? And we see her and Toni Storm go to battle in the ring. She eventually hits those knees in a nice fisherman buster onto Storm, only for a 2 count. But we do see Storm eventually recover and hit the Storm Zero on Mercedes for a 2 count as well. So they both hit their finishers, their best moves, and can't really keep either woman down. But we do see the end of this match come. Storm just goes to the top rope, hits a nice little diving headbutt. We love a good diving headbutt. She goes for the cover, but out of nowhere, out the frame, Io comes in with the moonsault, gets rid of Toni Storm, and pins Martinez for the 1-2-3, and she retains the NXT Women's Championship. This was probably the most lackluster match on the card. It didn't really have a lot of time to make it anything special, I would say. It only lasted about 12 minutes. But stuff like the leap from the scaffold, and especially with Mercedes and Toni getting time in the ring to themselves, definitely made the match good to an extent, but it didn't really get a chance to blossom in any way. But either way, still good stuff. Io retaining was the right call. It looks like they're eventually moving in the direction of her and Raquel at some point. Whenever that comes, please let it come, because I think Raquel is eventually going to be the one to take the title off of her, and I cannot wait for that match. So yeah, Io retaining was the right call. I don't know really where Toni and Mercedes kind of go from here, especially when Raquel wins the title. It doesn't look like they'll be winning it at any time soon. So looking forward to where they kind of go from here. But good stuff from these women, just not anything great or memorable or anything like that. But Io retaining, all the way the right call. And last up in the main event for the NXT Championship, we got Finn Balor versus Pete Dunne. We do see Finn Balor pretty much taking control with the grappling at first, and the mat grappling is taking care of that arm of Pete Dunne. But Pete eventually later on just comes back, hits some shoulder blocks into the jaw to just kind of loosen that jaw of Finn Balor that's been bothering him ever since Takeover 31 for a bit. And he eventually gets a armbar on Finn Balor, and boy, is he pulling that thing back. Like, along with like the joint manipulation and stuff like that that Pete Dunne does, this arm, he was about to pull that thing out of the socket. Like, that thing looked disgusting. This was a much more grounded match than we've seen from either men really throughout their just matches here in WWE. Even with Balor stuff with Kyle O'Reilly, the 2 matches that they had, which was much more submission-based and strike-based as well. This is a lot more on the mat than we've seen either men in a really long time, if ever. Eventually it does boil down to strikes just in the latter half of the match. It definitely picks up the pace a little bit, but that's kind of where Pete Dunne found his advantage for the most part. But Finn Balor was just dogging on that leg from Pete Dunne. He was just destroying that thing. Eventually gets on the STF and adds some forearms to boot to kind of make him submit as well. As the pace in this match picked up considerably in the second half of the match, we do see Finn Balor going for the coup de grace. He leaps from the top rope, but gets caught in a triangle choke from Pete Dunne, and he has him in there for a really long time. Eventually he does get to the rope, but Balor's basically passed out at this point. The referee's checking on him to make sure he's okay and all that, and Pete's just like, screw that, man, I'm going for it. Like, kicks him in the head just to get him. He tries to go for the bitter end, which is eventually reversed into an abdominal stretch by Balor, and they end up on the mat, but Pete's like, nah, man, I'm smart. He snaps his fingers while they're on the mat, which he did about 4 or 5 times in this match. He snapped those fingers a lot during this match. He eventually hits the bitter end, only for a 2 count. Finn Balor does kick out, and Pete Dunne is confused and conflicted. He tries to go for it again, but it's eventually reversed into a DDT, double foot stop on the mat, and Balor just grabs his mouthpiece. He grabs Pete Dunne's mouthpiece and just throws him out. Drop kick to the face to the mush now, to the mush, the teeth. He eventually hits the coup de grace from the top rope, but he isn't fast enough to make the cover. He sees Pete Dunne recovering, hits the 1916 DDT for the 1, 2, 3, and the victory. He has retained the NXT Championship. We'll get to the match a little bit later as well, but after the match, we do see the Brits and Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan come and help Pete Dunne attack Finn after the match. This brings out the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly to kind of fend them off. We see Kyle just give a hand of respect to Finn Balor, tries to help him out and stuff like that, like saying, hey, I'm here, we're here for you, we got you, Undisputed Era life, you know, basically kind of insinuating that he could join the Undisputed Era if he wanted to. They all pose towards the camera to try to end the show, and out of nowhere, Adam Cole super kicks Finn Balor, takes him out completely. Kyle O'Reilly's wondering, hey, what's wrong, man? What you doing, bro? That's the homie. Like, I got respect for him. Come on, I fought with him twice. I ain't win, but I fought with him twice. Roderick Strong's trying to figure out everything, and out of nowhere, Adam Cole kicks, super kicks out of his shoes Kyle O'Reilly as well. The Undisputed Era it's crumbling, y'all. It's if it's not over, it's crumbling. It's about to be over. Wow. And we see as Adam Cole just leaves the ring, leaving them all laid out. Roderick Strong is confused. He doesn't know what's going on or how to process anything, and he just stands there like conflicted. And that's the end of the show. That's the end of Takeover Vengeance Day. Wow, what a spicy main event. Not just the match, which was completely balls to the wall. Definitely the second half of that match just transitioned into some of the best work that we've seen from both men to date. Pete Dunne is a freaking star, and he should be pushed to the moon. Give him a title or something like that, please. Give him the North American title. I don't care. But yeah, he definitely proved his weight in this match. Definitely one of the best wrestlers that they have on NXT. But right man retained, especially with Karrion Kross in the rear view. Definitely good for Balor to just retain going into that phenomenal match by these two, but boy, Undisputed Era, they about to be broken up, and we about to, and I'm not too mad about this. I am mad that they didn't get any kind of shot on the main roster, kind of to demo this little faction run that they have. But my God, Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. Oh, it's a feud revisited. Like, oh, this is about to be the next like Gargano, Ciampa, Zayn, Neville, whatever you want to call it. This is about to be the next one of those, and it's about to be spectacular. Like, I am like a kid in a candy store, just fiending for this already. So I'm looking forward to that. But definitely a great main event segment all around, and a great show of Takeover Vengeance Day. Definitely the name sucks, but the show in general was phenomenal. But all in all, this was, like I said, the best show that WWE has put on since the pandemic started. Tops Royal Rumble, tops TLC, all that. Like, this is it. Every match was good, meaning the triple threat match, to almost completely exceptional and great. Like, Johnny Gargano and Kushida and Pete Dunne and Finn Balor were match of the year candidates for WWE. Not saying in the whole wrestling landscape, but in WWE specifically, they put on some barn burners here tonight. And especially just with booking decisions going into the future, establishing MSK as the next top tag team, and also Raquel and Kai getting their tag team title shots as well. But eventually just pre-booking feuds later on, like Finn Balor and Karrion Kross and Io and Raquel as well. They definitely, everything here was done perfectly almost. This was definitely one of the best takeovers that they've had in a long time. So I'm definitely just, I'm happy with this one. I'm very excited. And Kyle O'Reilly and and Adam Cole. I'm fiending for it. Like, I'm loving what they're doing right now. Even though I hate Undisputed Era breaking up, everything that they're doing right now is fire. So definitely go back and watch this match, like these matches, if you haven't already. Watch the whole show, it's phenomenal. But that is going to be it from me. You'll see videos coming throughout the week. Of course, like, share, subscribe, the whole nine, all the cliche stuff. Tell your mama, tell your dad, tell your grandma about that Johnny Gargano Kushida match, because that joint was fire. That joint was phenomenal. That's going to be it from me. I'm out. Peace. Macho Man, the cream of the crop. Ooh. Bye now.